Hello guys, I am Agnes, and I got out of a verbally abusive marriage and am now heading towards a new and healthy life. I thought I should share my story with you guys. This is about how my then husband divorced me for my infertility and married someone almost half his age. The story does end with him getting what he deserves, so there will be no tears. Brian and I met just after college. I was a fresh graduate working in a tech company. He was actually my senior, but we worked in the same department. That's how we first met. I won't go into details about why and how we fell in love. Those things are not relevant anymore. What's relevant is the fact that I got married to him. Yes, we were happy. We had our whole life ahead of us, and all we wanted was to have a family together. Brian always said, "I can't wait to have a big family with you, Agnes. Getting married to you was a dream come true." Me too, Brian. We will have a big, happy family, just like the one I have. Yes, it's important for me to leave our legacy behind. I want my family name to live on for generations. Once we have a child, we will have nothing to worry about. I hope we have a child soon. If we want to have a big family, we need to start planning soon. I'm so excited to have a child in my arms. We will be so happy. However, fate had other things in mind. After years of trying for a child, we knew that something was wrong. So we decided to go to the doctor. The doctor checked me and ran some tests. That's when my world changed forever. The doctor told me that I was infertile. It was impossible for me to have kids, and just like that, my heart broke into pieces. I had no idea that I was infertile. All my life I wanted to have kids and dreamed of having a big family. I grew up in a big family, so I was in love with the idea of having a full house. My then husband Brian also has a similar wish. He was kind of obsessed with having his family name passed down through a blood heir, so when we finally discovered that I was infertile, our world came crushing down. At the doctor's office, Brian broke down in tears. He said, "Agnes, why didn't you tell me you can't have kids? You never even mentioned it." "I didn't know, Brian. I'm so sorry. Everything seemed fine in the past. I had no idea about my condition." "No, that can't be true. I know you are lying, Agnes." "Why would I lie to you, Brian? I have no reason to lie to you." I had no idea why Brian would even accuse me of such things. He was behaving like a madman who wouldn't listen to reason. No matter what I said, he was sure that I intentionally hid my condition. He said, "You wanted to trap me. You knew that no one would marry you. You tricked me into marrying an infertile woman. You did this on purpose." "Why are you talking like that, Brian? I married you for love. Why would I trick someone I love? You're being very hurtful." "It doesn't matter now. You've already destroyed my life. How will I have children now? You should be ashamed of yourself." Yes, for the longest time, I was ashamed of myself. It was my fault that we couldn't have children. My infertility almost destroyed my life. I couldn't find peace anywhere. My parents and siblings lived far away and weren't very supportive. My own husband berated me day and night. He made my life a living hell. Only Daisy took my side and sympathized with me. She told Brian, "You need to stop treating Agnes like this. You're being a horrible husband and a crappy person in general. I didn't raise you to be like this." "What can I do, Mum? She's the reason I can't have kids. I can't even look at her without being angry. She's a poor excuse for a wife and woman." "How dare you insult her like this? You know your father left me when I had to get an emergency hysterectomy. Even after seeing your mother suffer, how can you be so cruel?" "That was different, Mum. At least you gave him one child, and you had a boy." "There are many alternatives to this, Brian. You can try IVF, surrogacy, or even adoption." "Absolutely not, Mum. I want my baby to be born naturally. There is no way I'll try fertility treatments. A real woman should have a baby naturally. Otherwise, she doesn't deserve to be a mother." Even Daisy's words couldn't sway Brian. He was convinced that his life was ruined. I was in tears almost every day. It was getting unbearable. Daisy did her best to support me. She even offered to let me live with her till things calmed down. I refused because I wanted to support Brian during this tough time. However, he never took my support. Instead, he found joy in lashing out at me and calling me names. Daisy was pretty sad and disappointed in Brian. She told me, "I'm sorry, Agnes. I don't know where I went wrong with him. He has turned into a monster." "It's all right, Daisy. It's not your fault. Besides, I deserve this treatment for being infertile. It's true that I am the reason we can't have kids." "Don't ever think about why, Agnes. You know, Brian's father left me because I had to get a hysterectomy. There was no other way, so we had to get the procedure done. His father refused to stay with someone who cannot give him more kids. I guess his father's teachings rubbed off on him. By then it was clear to me that Brian took these thoughts from his father. After his dad's death, he became absolutely obsessed with having a bio child, so when he found out my infertility, he was mad at me and the world. I was sympathetic towards him, so I let him berate me. I thought that Brian taking out his anger on me would help him. So I silently suffered and never talked back. I thought that eventually things will be okay. But things would only become worse. Brian was absolutely merciless. He no longer paid attention to me and didn't even return home until late at night. I kept going to different doctors to see if there was any chance. Brian never accompanied me, so I had to go alone. But nothing came out of my appointments. All of them had the same things to say. I did try to talk to Brian about surrogacy or adoption. I said, "Brian, have you thought about adoption? I know it's not the same, but kids are kids. We can give them a living home."
"I won't take in someone else's child. I don't run a charity. That is not an option. I need a biological child only."
"Brian, we can try surrogacy, you know. As Daisy said, there are other options. We can still have a biological child."
"If I have to get someone else to have a child, I'll just divorce you and marry someone else. That would save me money and make sure I have a huge family. I wouldn't be tied down to you."
Hearing him say that really hurt me. Brian was already considering leaving me. I tried everything to make him happy. I even took all of his insults and never protested. But his complete disregard for me and my feelings was obvious. He was slowly checking out of the marriage. I was getting tired of being treated like crap. I was slipping into depression and stopped being the bubbly girl I was. Slowly I was starting to see the end of my marriage. Still I was hopeful and wanted to work things out. My hope gave out very soon. It was Brian who made it happen. One day when I came home from work, Brian approached me in the living room. He looked pretty serious, so I was immediately alert. He sat me down and said that we needed to talk. I could already feel a headache coming. I braced myself for another round of insults and humiliation. However, he made things much worse. He said,
"You have been a useless wife, Agnes. Why are you even alive? A woman is made to have children. You can't even do that."
"How can you say that to me, Brian? I'm your wife. You loved me. Don't you have any sympathy for me? You're not the only one suffering."
"I don't care if you're suffering. You're the one with the problem. Why should I suffer for you? I need an heir. I want children and you can't give me them."
"What can I do, Brian? We can adopt, you know, or we can start with fostering kids. We will qualify, I know."
"There is no way I'm raising someone else's kid. I'm perfectly capable of having kids, so I will only have biological kids. Since you can't give me bio kids, I want a divorce. I won't be with you anymore."
"No, Brian, please don't do this. I love you. How can you leave me like this? I wish I could change my situation, but I can't."
"That is exactly why I have filed for divorce. The papers will be here any time soon. You need to prepare yourself. I'll be moving out soon."
I couldn't believe my ears. My one true love wanted to separate from me. I was in denial. I thought Brian was angry and won't go through with it, so I was hopeful for some time. Daisy also promised to talk sense into Brian. However, he didn't change at all. He kept humiliating me and finally presented me with divorce papers a few days later. In those few days, I did change a lot. I actually found out from sources that he was cheating on me. It was someone almost half his age. I was absolutely crushed. He had been telling people that the girl is his girlfriend and possibly his future wife. Any love I had for him vanished into thin air. This time, I was prepared not to go down without a fight, so I called him. I said, "So, I hear you have been out with other people. You do move on fast. Fine then, let's meet and get this over with."
"Good thing that you have come to your senses. We will meet soon and end everything. Then I'll be free from being an infertile woman."
"Since you are so keen on getting a divorce, I want some things from you. I don't need alimony, but I want a part of your savings. That is my condition. I'll sign the papers tomorrow if you agree." Brian agreed immediately. It seemed that he was in a hurry to get rid of me. I wanted to cry. I felt utterly humiliated. I could believe that I loved this man. Seeing him again was hard, but I knew I had to see him move on. I needed to know who he is dating, and I needed to look into his eyes and make him realize that it was over. The next day, we went over to a cafe. He was there and said that his girlfriend would be there soon. I was nervous and wanted to be done with the entire thing. Just then, I saw someone familiar walk into the cafe. The woman looked like someone I know. She was walking straight towards us. It took me a while to connect the dots, to confirm my suspicions. Brian said,
Agnes, meet Pamela. She is my new girlfriend. As you can see, she is much younger than you. She is 23, just the right age to have children.
As I saw Pamela, I couldn't hold my surprise. I knew this woman. She was there at my gynecologist on my last visit. I had overheard her telling a nurse that she was there for a checkup after getting her tubes tied. I instantly remembered the conversation, so instead of crying, I ended up laughing. Brian was also surprised, but only by my reaction. I said hi to Pamela and said to Brian, "So this is the woman who is replacing me? I see you guys have already made plans to have kids." "Yes, Agnes. Brian wants to try as soon as possible, and I too want to start a family with him soon."
We will get married once Pamela gets pregnant. It's only a matter of time. I made the right decision in divorcing you. There is no place for childless women in my life.
Good for you, Brian. I hope you get what you deserve. I'm truly happy for you. All the best in your new life. It's time for me to remove myself from this drama. We waited for the lawyers to arrive. When they did, we quickly signed the papers. I kept my mouth shut about Pamela. I was getting a good deal out of this divorce and losing the toxicity in my life. There was no way I was jeopardizing that. Brian will have to wait and suffer before the truth comes out. That's when I will have my revenge. With Brian's enthusiasm for divorcing me, it wasn't hard to get the divorce proceedings started. I wouldn't lie and say I didn't cry at home. I did cry, but not for Brian. I cried for my past self who had to suffer utter humiliation in my ex-husband's hands. But I was no longer that woman anymore. I was determined to see the end of this fiasco. So, I urged myself to be strong and get through the divorce. I also stopped all contact with Brian. Daisy was my only connection to him. I later learnt that Pamela and Brian had a rather rushed wedding after being together for 6 months. It was just after we finalised our divorce. Daisy said,
Agnes, I thought I should tell you that Pamela and Brian got married last week. You know, the girl fooled Brian into thinking she is pregnant. Since they didn't want a child out of wedlock, they decided to have a formal ceremony.
Is that so, Daisy? This must be pretty rushed. Did everyone come?
No one from our family attended, not even from his father's side. I didn't go either. Everyone is too disgusted with him and his new wife. I hope you won't be sad about this. I feel bad for you.
I will never shed a tear for him again, Daisy. I'm counting my days to see him suffer. That gives me something to look forward to. One bright afternoon after a year, it happened. I got an unexpected call, although I must say I was waiting for this call. I simply didn't know when it would be. Daisy called me up and said,
"Hi, Agnes. I just wanted to give you a little heads up.
Brian found out that Pamela got her tubes tied. Pamela kept telling him that she keeps losing the child. I told him the truth in front of her. He's pissed. They had a huge fight. He might show up at your door." Oh, it finally happened then. God, I would have liked to see his face when he found out. Pretty sure it was glorious. Kinda felt like he deserved it. He wronged you a lot, so his karma is earned. But watch out. I have a feeling he will be there soon. Daisy hung up after saying that. At first I thought he wouldn't show up, but he did come to my door fairly soon. Brian had the freaking audacity to come and shout at me. Frankly, it was laughable. He was furious that I didn't tell him about Pamela's fertility issues. He came to my house to scream at me. He stood on the porch and said,
"Agnes, why the hell did you never tell me about Pamela? I'm now stuck in a loveless marriage with no kids. How could you do this to me? Answer me!"
"I have nothing to say to you, Brian. You're the one who decided to cheat on me with a freaking 23-year-old. As you said, it's none of my business what you do with your love life."
"You knew I was dying for kids. Still you let me marry an infertile woman. God, I even signed over some of my properties to make her marry me."
"That is completely on you, Brian. You thought messing with me and marrying a 23-year-old will help you have children. You made fun of me for being infertile. This is exactly what you deserve. Have fun playing house with your new wife. Bye." I said that and left to go to my room. Brian stood there yelling profanities at me, till I threatened to call the police. After that, I called Daisy to know what went down between Brian and Pamela. She said,
"He absolutely blew his top. He couldn't believe you knew but didn't tell him. I simply laughed at him."
I don't know how he turned out to be such an idiot. Clearly his father is rubbing off on him. Brian said that he was so desperate for children that he bribed Pamela to marry him.
"Yes, Agnes, you know he signed over his house to Pamela. The girl kept playing him for his money. No wonder she got her tubes tied before the wedding. She was planning to run him dry before leaving him. That would serve him right. It's time he knows how it feels to be abandoned. He had it coming. I was extremely satisfied with the fact that Brian was finally feeling the heat of his decisions. I was just sorry that he didn't suffer even longer. Brian was just starting to realize his mistake. I know he hopes it isn't too late. Knowing him, it won't be long before he sleeps with someone else. However, this time he will have nothing to offer. Once Pamela leaves him, he will have a hard time financially. I doubt anyone would want to have a child with him. Months passed and things between Brian and Pamela grew even more tense. Daisy kept me updated on everything that happened. Now, Brian was trying to get Daisy's help in solving his marital problems. My ex-mother-in-law simply noped out of that situation. However, she kept getting updates and didn't mind sharing them with me. Pamela and Brian are now fighting a divorce battle. Since her secret is out, Pamela wanted a divorce. She knew there was no way she could get anything else from Brian, so she decided to stay happy with what she got and find her next target. Brian is having a hard time with the divorce. At his age, it was becoming difficult for him to accept his situation. Daisy and I have continued our friendship. She had become the mother I never had. She was close to disowning Brian because she was disgusted with what he did. Brian has been asking her for money, but she never gave him any. Instead, she berated him and called him a freaking loser. Meanwhile, I am dating someone new. He's a friend from college who has been widowed. We did have a crush on each other back in school, but never acted on it. Finally, we had a chance to make it happen. He knows about my fertility issues and is even sympathetic about it. Even his children have taken a liking to me. It's too soon to say what will happen, but things are going well for me now.